Being a homeowner comes with a myriad of responsibilities, but when one family's home started buzzing incessantly, they were left confused and scared. Every day the walls seemed to vibrate around them, and the family had no idea what was causing this. Was it an electric issue? Was it water damage? Did they have problems with pests? The family desperately explored every possibility. Little did they know that the real reason was going to make headlines and end up with them becoming infamous. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. The family in question has asked to remain anonymous to protect themselves, but still want the world to hear about their story, in hopes that they can help other people suffering from the same problem as them. It all started rather quickly after the family moved into the house. The ordinary suburban home was located in a desirable neighbor in Germantown, a small and friendly area. Little did they know that this exciting move was going to turn into an exhausting ordeal. Just a few days into moving into their home, the walls started buzzing. At first, the family members had thought it was nothing, but with each passing day, the buzzing became incessant. Of course, the parents tried to calm the kids and explained that the buzzing was just part of the usual noises that any old house makes, but even they couldn't ignore it after the noise turned into a loud, permeating vibration. The strong and constant sound made it impossible to ignore, and every time they would put their ear against the wall, it only intensified. Something was happening inside the walls, but what? The family had no idea. So to calm themselves down and their kids, the parents had a professional pest control service come and tent the house. As soon as the family were allowed to move back in, they noticed that the walls were still buzzing. The whole thing had gotten worse. The family, which was inherently not superstitious, didn't immediately want to believe this possible outcome. They didn't believe in ghosts, but the more people they told about their problem, the more the family started to second-guess everything. Was their home haunted? The parents just couldn't get their head around the thought, but the kids were convinced. What else could be causing the vibrations? And the next step was to make sure that the sound wasn't coming due to a safety issue in the home. While they had the home inspected before their move, the parents worried that maybe a pipe had burst or faulty wiring was exposed, somehow causing the sound, and also posing as a major safety issue to the family. So, the parents pushed the idea of any supernatural possibilities and dived headfirst into contacting professionals regarding their home. They had dozens of people come and inspect everything from the wiring to the foundation of the home. And at this point, the buzzing remained constant, and with each professional claiming nothing wrong with the home, the parents started to worry. With no luck with professionals, the real breakthrough came by complete chance. One day, as the family was enjoying a day at the park, they noticed a lone bee fly close to them. And with it came a very familiar sound. It was the same type of buzzing the family had been experiencing for months now. Could this be? Was their home infested with bees? Before they even got home, the parents had already booked a beekeeper to come to visit them as soon as possible. They had found a local man named David Glover. His online credentials were extensive, and once the parents read through other testimonials of people Glover had helped, they became certain that this was the right choice. If the home was full of bees, David was the man for the job. And as he came over for their first meeting, he noticed something immediately. A few bees were strangling outside one of the walls of the family home, while no one would have noticed such a thing. David and his trained eye instantly knew this to be a sign of a problem he could easily solve. A few bees outside the home weren't enough for David to come up with an explanation behind the buzzing, so he used a thermal imaging camera. The device helps David see any major heat sources inside the home's walls. And of course, major groups of heat spots usually indicate a beehive. But as soon as David took his images, he was left stunned. Every corner of the home's walls was showing up a bright red. This could only mean one thing. All of the walls of the home were completely occupied by a mega beehive, the likes David had never seen before. And during his initial overview, David also managed to figure out how the bees had gotten inside the brick home. There was a small weep hole. These gaps are found usually in houses in the south to let them breathe due to the humidity. Also, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to G's inspired by real-life stories every day now. Back to the story. This hole was the entry point for the bees, and also the reason the hive had managed to get this big, since it was virtually protected from all predators inside the walls. The family was beyond relieved by David finally finding out what was wrong with their home. David came up with a plan which meant that part of the home's walls would have to be demolished, brick by brick. The beekeeper wanted to remove the beehive in a way that he protected both the bees as well as the home, and this laborious process seemed to be the only way to do it. Glover, who had removed beehives from thousands of homes in his career, hated one thing more than anything: bricks. Not only was removing bricks painfully long and stressful, but one wrong move and David could end up damaging the hive. And with this family's entire home being made of bricks, the job was 10 times harder. While the thermal imaging had shown that there was a huge hive inside the walls, as David slowly removed the first brick, the reality of the task became apparent. Hundreds of bees were attached to it. It was obvious that the bees had been there for quite a while. He had no idea how big this hive might be, but with each brick he removed, he uncovered more and more bees. And even to an expert like David, the sheer quantity of bees left him flabbergasted. David knew that it was going to be a long process of removing brick after brick, but he never anticipated this many bees. And of course, the longer it took him to uncover the hive, the more expensive the whole process became. After hours and hours of careful work, David finally uncovered the entire beehive. In the end, he estimated that the hive had about 35,000 bees. But of course, he couldn't have an exact count. He noticed that a lot of bees had already died, due to the family fumigating the home. So, in reality, the hive had been even bigger ones. No wonder the walls were buzzing and vibrating. This was the biggest hive David had seen. David carefully transported the thousands of bees to his farm, where they could finally be at peace, and the same could be said for the family. After months of torment and guessing, they ultimately spent their first night in their home without hearing any buzzing. 6 months after David saved the bees, he posted an update on his social media. Turns out everyone was just as surprised as him about the sheer size of the beehive, and soon the post and David Glover went viral. The beekeeper now has a busier schedule than ever and spends his free time educating people on bees and their importance to the ecosystem.